These amazing cards sat in one family's collection in a vintage box for over 60, 70 years and had been in the family for 90 years. I'll tell you about it. Hey, it's Mike. Thanks for tuning back in. So this is another collection story, or Attic Find Friday, and I know it's Saturday morning, I'm sorry. Another Attic Find Friday story brought to you by Just Collect, Leighton Sheldon. He's actually a really good storyteller. He's funny. I've read a bunch of his stories, and I'll bring a couple more of them to you here in the next, handful of weeks. I'm going to move over a little bit so I can add some photos right here. So this comes to us from Claire in 2021. Her father had passed away that year, and he had collected these cards himself in the 1930s, 90 years before. So in 1942, her father, Dr. Gurney Goodkunst, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, had joined the Army, and then he got his bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan in 2.5 years. And then he went overseas and got his PhD, and then he became a senior pastor in his church by 1967. So a very accomplished man. He had collected, though, before joining the Army, 10 years before joining the Army, 1933 to 36 or so, as a kid. And then after he had a family, he moved this box, big box of cards, I'll show you here in a minute, everywhere they went until he passed away in 2021. When he passed away in 2021, Claire, his daughter, wasn't sure what to do with it. Nobody else in the family was a collector, and so she reached out to Just Collect, Leighton Sheldon, and he said, yeah, I'll pay for you to ship the cards to me. And she balked at that, understandably, seeing what's in the box. And so he offered to drive up to her house in Yonkers, New York. Now, he's in New Jersey. I didn't look up how far, I'll put it up here on the screen, how far the drive is. But he drove up with his social media team and his vintage expert, John, to assess the collection. And they get to the house, and it's a mansion in Yonkers. And it's called the Father Divine's New York Mansion. And there's actually an article in the USA Today about the history of the mansion, and it mentions that Claire and her husband had purchased it fairly recently. It was on the market for $1.1 million. I don't think they say how much she paid for it, but somewhere probably around there. So Claire's father had passed away at the age of 96 earlier that year, 2021, left the collection. So when Leighton and his team showed up, she brought him into the kitchen, where she had a Manning Bowman iron box. Bowman, completely unrelated, I believe, but maybe not. Let me know in comments. On the counter, and on the side it said Boys Cards, March 1957. And so, she's held onto this box for 64 years, or her father did. Yeah, it's amazing. By the way, her house is a historic landmark in New York, the house that they bought. So very cool. Got some photos here of the house. So they open the box, get into it. Inside are 1933 Gaudis, including the Babe Ruth card number 144. And I went through this last week, this card. I've been through this card many times. I'm not going to get into the details of it. It's just a big deal. It's a great card. And it has one owner for 90 years. The provenance on this collection is amazing. There's also 4 Jimmy Foxes. There's a Mel Ott. There's a Hack Wilson. So it's quite an amazing collection just of the 33 Gaudis. And then you get into the 34 Gaudis, and there are 2 Lou Gehrig's in there. So pretty darn neat, if you ask me. Then you get into the 33 Gaudi Sport Kings. There's a Ty Cobb. So when she had called Leighton Sheldon, she had mentioned the Gehrig's and the Ruths, but no mention of Ty Cobb, no mention of any of the other big cards. So obviously they're very excited. There are also 1934-36 Batter Up cards, dozens of these cards, and these are meant to be popped up, but Claire's dad had only popped up one out of all the dozens of them that he had. So then there was a photo album inside. Leighton says that he assumed it was a family photo album, but it was actually loaded up with 1936 National Chicle fine pins. I hope I'm pronouncing Chicle right. I'm never 100% sure how to pronounce that. 1936 Gaudi wide pen premiums, 1929 exhibit star stamps with athletes and movie stars like Charlie Chaplin, 1935 gum ink Mickey Mouse cards, a bunch of those in there, along with Indian chewing gum cards. In the Mickey Mouse card, there's card number 1 with Mickey and Pluto. Now, these aren't terribly valuable. They go for maybe hundreds of dollars. There's 2,500 of them in the PSA pop. But it's just cool. It's the number 1's first, I think. Mickey Mouse was introduced in 28. This was 1935. Probably the first Mickey Mouse cards. And then, he continues to dig. He's got 1935 World Series tickets, 2 of them. And these tickets were priced, they were really good seats. They were priced at $5.50. And if you think about this, this is fresh out of the Depression. $5.50 was a lot of money. Leighton says that the median income at that time was only $474. So $5.50 today would be $123, which is a massive bargain, of course, but the demand is much higher now. $123 for a World Series ticket. You couldn't even get standing room only for World Series or anywhere near it for $123. You can barely watch the game on TV for that price nowadays. The Detroit Tigers played in that one. I don't remember who they played against, but they won that World Series. So pretty neat. So why did Leighton Sheldon call this the name tag collection? It's because Claire, who was an attorney, had put the 2 Lou Gehrig cards into name tag holders, as you see here, to protect them. So pretty smart. She didn't have sleeves, she didn't have top loaders, but she knew that they should be protected better for viewing. So she put them into name tag holders, which was pretty cool. Just Collect bought the collection. They also wanted the box, the Manning Bowman iron box. Claire didn't sell it to them though. She and her husband wanted to keep it for some reason, so I think that's cool. I love artifacts like that, just really neat. Let me know what you think about this. What is the coolest card in this collection? I would love to find a collection like this with unique cards like not even cards, unique items like the 35 World Series tickets. There were also pins from radio shows in the late 1930s, things like that that you just don't see very often. And it would be a blast. Just a lot of fun. Again, tomorrow, clearing the bases. I'll be back again next week with a Attic Find Friday, hopefully on Friday next week. I'm hoping that my work week goes a little bit better than it has every other week this year. And then I'm off to Dallas, where I'm planning on hanging out with Mike Moynihan. We're planning on a YouTube sleepover. So we'll do a live stream if I do make it, which is the plan, but flights out of Maine always have something to say, so we'll see. Again, let me know what you think. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you guys have a great weekend.